My grandfather pulled more fence posts out of that mountain ground than I could ever count. And he never one time hired a machine, never rented a skid steer, and never paid a sole dollar to do it for him. Folks today will tell you that you need a tractor with a loader on the front of it, or a post puller you have to go rent by the day, and that a fence line of any length is going to cost you real money before you are through. Well, my grandfather would have laughed right out loud at that. He pulled posts that had been in the ground longer than he had been alive. Posts set in concrete, posts rotted off at the dirt line, posts a truck could not budge. And he did it with things he already had sitting in that shed. And tonight I am going to show you every single one of the old ways he used. So the next time you have got a sagging old fence line out there that needs to come down, you will know exactly how to go at it, and it will not cost you a fortune, and it will not put your back out. Because here is the thing nobody bothers to tell you anymore. You do not pull a fence post up. You never win that fight. A man standing over a post, hauling straight up on it with his arms in his back, is the weakest thing in this whole business. And that is exactly how men hurt themselves. A post in the ground is held by three things and three things only. It is held by the dirt packed around it. It is held by the concrete, if some fellow poured any. And it is held by friction, plain and simple. The grip of the ground along the whole length of it down there where you cannot see. So you have got three answers. You soak it, you break it, or you lever it. Soak, break, or lever. That is the whole business, start to finish. So pull up a chair and let me show you how the old timers took down a fence line without a machine and without breaking their backs to do it. My name is Amos. I was raised back in a holler where the nearest store was a long way off and the money was shorter than the road. My people have been on that mountain longer than anybody kept count, and I have never had a mind to leave it. Now, before we get into all the different ways, let me give you the one big idea that ties the whole thing together. Because once this settles in your mind, you will never look at a fence post the same way again. Here it is. The ground is not holding that post. Water is. That sounds backwards, so let me say it plain. Dry packed dirt grips a post like a fist. It is tight against the wood the whole way down, and it will not let go. But wet dirt lets go. Wet dirt turns to soup and slides. So a post you cannot move on a dry August afternoon will come up out of that same hole, almost easy after 2 days of rain, or after you have stood there 20 minutes with a hose. The old timers all knew it. That is why my grandfather never pulled fence in a dry spell if he could help it. He waited on the weather, and the weather did half his work for him. A man in a hurry fights the dirt. A patient man lets the water do the fighting. Soak, break, or lever. Keep that in your head and let us go. The first old way is not a way to pull the post at all. It is what you do first, every single time, and it saves you half the work that comes after. You dig around it and you look. Take a spade and clear the dirt away from the base of that post all the way around it down 8 or 10 inches. And then look at what you have actually got. Because until you do that, you are guessing. Is it a wood post set straight in the dirt? Is it a steel T-post? Is there a great gray collar of concrete down there? Is the post rotted clean through at the dirt line so it is going to snap the second you pull on it? That is 4 completely different jobs. And a man who starts pulling before he looks will pick the wrong tool and waste his whole morning. 10 minutes with a spade tells you which of these ways you need. My grandfather never once laid hands on a post before he had looked at the bottom of it. The second old way is the water, and this is the one I want you to actually use because it is the laziest and it works the best. You soak it out. Take your garden hose, stick the end of it right down against the post, and let it run. Not a spray. A slow, steady trickle right at the base, 10 or 15 minutes longer on heavy clay. What you are doing is turning that packed grip into mud. The water works its way down the length of the post and breaks the friction all along it. And if you want to help it, work the post back and forth while the water runs. A little rock, a little push, a little pull. Every time you move it, you open the gap a hair wider and the water runs deeper. And it turns into a loop that undoes itself. Wet rock, wet rock. There is a post out there right now that 4 men could not shift on a Sunday that 1 man in a hose will lift out on a Tuesday. Water is free and patience is free, And between them, they beat a rented machine on most posts you will ever meet. Now, the third old way is the plain honest lever, and it is the heart of this whole business. You lever it out. Do not haul up on the post with your arms. Give yourself a fulcrum. Take a good stout timber, a chunk of firewood, a cinder block, a rock, and set it on the ground right beside the post. Then take a long iron bar or a stout length of pipe and lay it across that fulcrum with the end of it under something on the post. Now push down on the far end of that bar, and here is the beautiful part. If your fulcrum sits a foot from the post and your bar is 6 foot long, then every pound you lean on that bar comes out as 5 pounds lifting straight up on the post. You have not got stronger, you have got smarter. That is the whole trade, and it is the same trade whether you are moving a post or a boulder or a barn beam. And do not stand there with your legs braced hauling like a mule. Set your weight on it and let your body do the work, not your spine. Which brings me right to the fourth old way, and this is the one my grandfather used more than anything else once he was past 60, the high lift jack and a chain. If you have got one of those tall farm jacks, the kind with the notches up the bar, you already own the best post puller ever made, and you did not know it. You wrap a chain around the base of the post, low as you can get it, snug and tight. You hook the chain to the jack, and then you just work that handle, click, 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 and that post comes up out of the ground an inch at a time, slow and steady, and completely under your control, and you never once strain your back. If you have not got a farm jack, a come-along does the same job pulling sideways. Wrap the post, anchor the other end to a good tree or a post you are not pulling, and crank. One turn of your wrist pulls with the strength of 10 men. That is not an exaggeration. That is just what a gear does. And here is the old-timer's touch on this. Put a board or a flat rock under the foot of that jack. On soft, wet ground, the jack will just drive itself down into the dirt instead of lifting the post. And you will stand there cranking and wondering why nothing is happening. Now, the fifth old way is for the post that is rotted off. And this is where most folks give up and go call somebody. You have pulled and the top has snapped clean off in your hands. And now there is nothing standing above ground to grab hold of. Just a stub of punky wood down in a hole. Do not despair of it. You dig a little relief hole right alongside the stub, a spade width across and down as deep as you can get. Now you have got somewhere to work. Get your bar down in that hole and beside the stub and pry sideways against it, not up. Sideways breaks it loose from the dirt on the far side and rolls it into the empty hole you just dug. Then you lift it out of there like a potato. And if it is soft and rotten through, sometimes the honest answer is that you just dig the thing out in pieces with a spade and a mattock and stop trying to be clever about it. There is no shame in that. Some posts have earned their rest. The sixth old way is the one that makes grown men swear, and that is concrete. Somebody, sometime, poured a bag of concrete around that post because he thought he was doing you a favor. He was not. Now the whole thing comes up as one lump, post and collar together, and it can be 60 or 80 pounds of dead weight down in the ground with a bell shape on the bottom of it that is wider than the hole above it. So here's how the old timers went at it. First, you soak it, exactly like we said, because the concrete plug still has dirt gripping the outside of it and water still breaks that grip. Second, you dig one side clear all the way down past the bottom of the collar so it has somewhere to go. And third, you lever it sideways into that clear space before you ever try to lift it. Break it loose sideways first. That is the trick. A concrete collar that will not come straight up will roll out sideways almost every time. And if it is truly enormous, you do not have to bring it up at all. You bust it. A heavy sledge on the collar will crack concrete, especially old concrete. And old concrete out in the weather is a good deal weaker than folks think. Break it into 2 or 3 pieces and lift them out one at a time like a sensible man. The seventh old way is the truck. And I am going to tell you about it because everybody thinks of it. And then I am going to tell you to be careful with it because this is the one that actually hurts people. Yes, you can chain a post to a truck and drive forward. And yes, it works. But hear me close. You never use a rope that stretches. A stretch strap or nylon rope stores up energy like a drawn bow. And when something lets go, and something always eventually lets go, that hook comes back through the air faster than you can see it. Men have been killed that way. Not hurt, killed. So if you are going to do it, you use a chain, which does not stretch and drops when it breaks. You pull slow and steady, and you never snatch it, never take a run at it. You keep every living soul out from between the truck and the post and well off to the side. And you understand that you are pulling at an angle which levers the post over sideways rather than lifting it, and that will snap a rotten post right off at the ground and leave you worse off than you started. Honestly, on most posts, the jack is better, safer, and more controllable. The truck is for a whole line of good sound posts when you have got somebody sensible driving. The 8th old way is for steel T-posts, and it is a different animal altogether. A T-post has got that little anchor plate down near the bottom, and it is driven, not set, so it has no concrete and no rot. It will come out easy if you go at it right and fight you all day if you do not. The old way is a post puller, which is nothing but a lever with a jaw on it that grips the post. But you can make the same thing in a minute with a chain in your bar. You wrap 2 turns of chain around the post low down, hook it back on itself, put your bar through the chain, and put a block under the bar, lean on it, and the post walks straight up. The important part is to pull it straight up. Do not lever it over sideways, because that anchor plate down at the bottom is shaped like a plow, and if you tip it, you drive it in harder and bend the post besides. The 9th old way is the one that costs nothing and that everybody forgets in the moment. You twist it, take a pipe wrench or a good big pair of channel locks and grip that post and just turn it like unscrewing a jar. Round posts especially will break their grip on the ground when they rotate, because you are shearing the whole friction bond all the way down at once instead of fighting it end on. Half a turn one way, half a turn back, and you will very often feel the whole thing go loose in the ground. That takes about 4 seconds to try, and it will save you an hour when it works. The 10th old way is about when you do it, and it is the cheapest advice in this entire video. You wait for the weather. Do not pull fence in August. Pull it after a good long soaking rain when the ground is heavy and dark and soft, 2 spades down. My grandfather kept a whole list of jobs in his head that were waiting on rain, and pulling fence was near the top of it. He would go out the morning after a 2-day rain and pull posts that he would not have wasted his time on in a dry week. The weather is a machine you do not have to rent. The 11th old way is what you do with what you have got out, because the old timers never in their lives wasted anything. Those old posts are not trash. A sound locust or cedar post that has come out of the ground is often good for years, yet cut the rotted foot off it and set it somewhere it does not matter so much. The short ends make stakes for the garden and braces for the tomatoes. The truly rotten ones go on the burn pile or into the woods to rot down properly and feed the ground. And the wire. Roll it, do not ball it. A rolled wire is a wire you will use again. A balled up snarl of old fence wire is a thing you will curse for 20 years and finally pay somebody to haul off. And the 12th old way is not about pulling a post at all. It is about setting the new one so that whoever comes along after you does not have to do all this over again. Because here is the honest truth. Most of the misery in this video was caused by somebody setting a post wrong 40 years ago. So do not set a wood post in concrete. I know that is contrary to what they will tell you at the store. Concrete holds water against the wood right at the ground line, which is precisely where a post rots. So a concrete collar is a bucket that rots your post faster and then leaves you a lump to fight when it fails. Set it in gravel instead. Dig your hole deeper than you think, a third of the post in the ground as a rule. Put 4 or 5 inches of coarse gravel in the bottom so water drains away underneath instead of standing. Set the post on that, then backfill with gravel and tamp it hard in layers, a few inches at a time, tamping every layer. Tamped gravel holds a post every bit as tight as concrete and it drains, and when the day comes to pull it, it comes up. And if you want to do it the way they did it before there was a store, char the bottom, set the foot of that post in a fire and let it burn to a black crust, then knock the ash off. Charred wood does not rot the way raw wood does. There are charred posts still standing in fence lines in this country that were set before your grandfather was born. Then crown the dirt. Mound the fill up around the post so it sheds water away instead of letting it pull against the wood. Same idea as everything else on this mountain. get the water away, and the thing lasts. So let me tie the whole business back together before you head on. That post is not held by the ground. It is held by water and friction and whatever some fella poured around it. So you soak it to kill the friction, you break the concrete or the rot so there is nothing solid left to hold, and you lever it out so a little of your strength does the work of a machine. Soak, break, or lever. That is every way there is, and not one of them needs a skid steer. Now, if you have got a fence line out there waiting on you, here is the one thing to go do this week, and it will take you 15 minutes. Pick the worst post out of the whole line, the one you have been dreading. Go put the hose on it and let it run for 15 minutes while you do something else. Then come back with a pipe wrench and give it half a turn one way and half a turn back, and then rock it. You will very likely lift that post out with your hands. And when you do, you will understand this whole video in your bones, and you will never pay a man with a machine to pull a fence post again as long as you live. Now tell me down there in the comments, have you got a fence line you have been putting off? Or did your daddy or your granddad have a way of pulling a post that I did not get to tonight? I read every single one of them, and I always learn something from you good folks. And if this was any help to you at all, do me a kindness and subscribe and sit a while with us here at the Old Mountain Way, because we are keeping these good old ways alive one at a time. There will always be a place for you here at this table. You take care of yourself now, and I will see you next time.